Cerberus is probably going to come out with the win.
Alright, we do see Ottomans here coming with the very passive pick. I'd say it is Arden. It is more about building it around Arden. I certainly do not agree with that Arden pick. I mean, on the other hand, Gankstars picked banned that Fortress. Does that force for Justice here into the Arden pick? I don't know.
I have a feeling like, you know, Gangsstars, they banned out that Fortress, Arden, and then for Justice, they picked up Arden. They're trying to eliminate out the composition, all the roamers. And I feel like, you know, they're trying to target it this way because there's way too many heroes that Gangstar Cerberus can do. Like running Ozo for one.
Ozo, we just talked about it a couple of minutes ago when we talked about the gap closers, if Ozo might have an appearance here. Maybe Leon listening to us saying, hey, you know guys, if you want to see Ozo, I can play Ozo. What will we see? I have seen, you know, the patch notes. It's a couple of changes for the Crystal Power path. Will we see Crystal Power or will we see Weapon Power?
I'm leaning more on the side of, you know, Weapon Power at the moment. This is due to the fact that he has that sustain coming out of him. He doesn't really want to go weapon, especially when going up against a buff composition built around Blackfeather.
Yep.
You know, you can't really outduel. You just don't have enough sustainability, especially even though you do have a Finn on your side.
And that was a very last second lock in here from Techno JJ with the Vox. And yeah, it's going to be likely a Crystal Power Vox in the lane, I'd say. Weapon Power Ozo in the jungle. That's at least my guess. Fits to what you just said. You have to outduel that Blackfeather at one point. And having, you know, the Ozo with a lot of burst splash damage with his bounce here doesn't make a lot of sense. But we will see, ladies and gentlemen. We are loading into the fold, throwing over to our lovely casters, Action Jackson and X-Countrell. Take it away, guys.
Wow, and Ozo, I was not expecting this to be coming through from Gankstars, but they have decided to pick it up. Leon, it is Leon. I mean, he can make anything work, to be fair.
It's the first time I have seen, personally, an Ozo in competitive play here, Jackson. So I'm interested to see where he fits into the composition. You know, he is very aggressive. He can do a lot of burst damage with 3-Ring Circus, and Acro Bounce does make him particularly mobile. I'm interested to see which kind of build he goes. I've played with both. I've played with mainly Crystal Power, but I have played both in a sense. So I'm looking forward to seeing this Ozo perform his tricks.
One thing which certainly surprises me is that they're picking it without the Adagio, because everyone knows that Ozo, with his heroic perk, gets healed for so much when he has that kind of a support. So not having it seems maybe a little bit bold, but Leon is going to get invaded here. Fursic leading the charge. Looks like he's going to be playing the Roma Ardent with Ottomans going for the jungle roll. Fursic, look at the damage he's taking, though. Leon trying to keep this one going. That's going to be the Acrobax bounce. Acro bounce back by Leon just to keep him a little bit safer. Yakub starting to rotate down, though. We don't see anything coming across from Techno just yet. He's only managed to get here now. Finding some bounce damage onto Fursic, but not quite enough to get the kill yet. Doesn't have Sonic Zoom off cooldown as quickly as he might like to really keep the pressure on, as Emmer King needs to back away, nearly going down to the minion camps. In fact, he might go... Oh, that was close. That was rather close, Scoundrel.
That was pretty close. So Ottoman really carrying for Justice through here in that early little engage. You know, that's what an Adagio can do. Can do a lot of damage at level 2. You do have to respect the sort of ability to sustain and apply damage that he has, and obviously there was no way that they could effectively get onto him. After that burst was used by the Ozo, there was nothing left for him to follow up with.
Uh-oh. Emmer King, he's not in a great position right now. Fursic is being sped up a little bit, has the blood for blood, jumping across. Ottomans going on to Leon at the moment, but you imagine he will be changing targets soon as Fursic has cut off the escape path of Emmer King. Emmer King buying time for that polite company to be a good opportunity, but he's not going to find it. Techno getting some good harass down onto Yakub in lane, but got to be careful about the positioning as Ottoman starts to rotate up. This is a very different game from game 1, already for Justice starting to make a lot of aggressive plays.
I do like the composition for Justice as well, and it also speaks volumes that Gangstar's chose to ignore the Black Feather ban they brought out in the last draft phase, and they're going to give Black Feather over to For Justice, a champion that we know that Yakub is incredibly good with, and combined so well with Adagio in a lot of respects. You know, I think essentially what they're looking to do here is they're going to box them in with the Gauntlet, try and follow up maybe with a Verse of Judgment, and then you just have this buffed up Black Feather. It can be, in sometimes, impossible to deal with. Because he is just so, again, hypermobile. That Rose Assault just makes him such a ridiculously good mobile damage dealer. So I quite like this competition coming out from For Justice, and I want to see how this Ozo plays into it.
Well, for the time being at least, it looks like Ozo is going for the Crystal Power build. He's going to have some decent burst. Emmer King on the front lines here spots out the collapse coming across from For Justice, but Gankstars aren't really retreating just yet. Leon actually moving in here, trying to find a bit of initial damage. Techno jumping onto the backline, doing some good work. That's going to be the Acro Bounce. Leon trying to dive deep, finds Ottoman. Yakub also very low. Techno hunting him down towards the lane as Fursic tries to escape on the backside. Not going to be able to get out of here too easily, I would imagine. Leon keeping the chase going. Yakub has managed to find safety towards his turret, just barely. But here comes the Acro Bounce. Leon wants Fursic. Diving in a bit more here. Vanguard not enough to save him. 2 quick kills going to Gangstar Cerberus. And a big turnaround from the early pressure that was relatively uncontested from Gangstars earlier on in the game.
Yeah, Leon managing to pick up a bit of Crystal Power, now actually starting to do some real damage with that 3-ring Circus. I want to see where he chooses to itemize. He's picked up the Eclipse Prism so far, but has obviously a variety of options available to him. Obviously, 3-ring Circus does apply on hit effects, so you can pick up something like maybe like an alternating current or these kind of things, and it will buff, I guess, the damage from 3-ring Circus, but it may be more viable just to go straight for some flat CP like a Broken Myth, which makes a lot more sense. Broken Myth is super.
Uh-oh. Leon, he's in a bad position, but look at that. Jumps right over the wall back to safety. Techno providing an easy escape route for that Acro Bounce. Good damage back onto the members of For Justice as well, but without the sustain that Adagio provides, Gangstar Cerberus in a bit of a tougher spot when it comes to keeping this fight going. Emmer King wants to, but he is slowed up. Yakub trying to jump in and maybe pick up the kill. Look at this, Leon, he's all over the place. He's so mobile, but he still goes down. Techno JJ avenges his death just somewhat, picking up the kill onto Yakub, but with Ottoman's back to full health, it is going to be very difficult for Gangstars to look for anything more here. Leon, it's hard to keep track of him in these fights. You got to imagine that that is a struggle for Justice right now.
Yeah, I mean, he is all over the place with this champion. It's very difficult to lock him down, know where he's going to appear, where he's going to potentially focus his damage. It's hard enough for us to keep up with it, and we're not even playing the game. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying Leon's play so far. Interestingly, obviously, I think that the sensible decision coming out here, that Techno JJ on this Vox is going to go for the weapon power build. Obviously, he's got a shorter range than most other champions that may, or so most of the heroes that may choose to go for this build, but it does give that mixed damage. It means that itemizing against Gangstars won't be as easy, and obviously we know weapon power box is still
Leon,
good.
He's in a 2 versus 3 right now, but here comes Techno JJ. Leon does have Bangarang available. Acro Bounce keeping Leon in safety for now, but he actually lands inside of the Verse of Judgment and goes down. Emmer King going to be the new target as Techno JJ tries to run away from Yakub. Yakub struggling to hunt him down here, is going to have the on-point, jumps forward, but doesn't get the auto-attack down, and with the turret hitting him, Yakub needs to back away. He maybe misplayed that a little bit, could probably have found the final auto-attack, but even still, good fight for Justice.
May have gone down to the turret, though, so he did have to be fairly careful. I think that was a really good Verse of Judgment from Adagio, by the way, because it did play around the ability for Acro Bounce to get him out of range, and it caught him right on the edge. So really good Verse of Judgment from Ottoman here. One of the best Verse of Judgments that I have seen used by Adagio, because it's very difficult, obviously, with the popularity of Crucible as an item to make them work. But in this early game, Crucible not yet finished. I really, really like that. It was a good play.
Oh, absolutely. And Leon, he's got to be kicking himself a little bit right now because he fell down just as it popped. So he did end up going down as a result of that. Thankfully for Gangstar Cerberus, it's not all doom and gloom right now. They're only 1,000 gold behind and 1 kill down. Absolutely something you can come back from, especially when you've got the late game Vox on your lineup. But signs of life here from For Justice. They know that they really needed to turn up in this game too. Their backs are against the walls. So far, they have been able to do that. This is, I believe, the 7th seed team going up against 1st seed. So on paper, difficult game for Justice, but they need to prove they can make it happen if they want to stand a chance moving into the championships later on. Techno JJ
They've got a
taking
2k
up
gold
the
advantage though, so they're certainly bringing the game to Gankstars at this point in time. Blackfeather looking incredibly strong. He's already picked up that Serpent's Mass that will have to sustain during these fights. Picked up a bit of armor as well. Emma King not yet level 6, so won't have that forced accord to try and hook people in and disrupt these team fights. Leon not yet picked up a first item. Interesting to see where he does choose to itemize into.
He does have 1,300 gold, so he likely can pick up a big item soon. He is making his way towards the shop now. We're going to have to see if he goes for something here. I think he wanted to, but then spotted out the collapse coming in from For Justice. Now he needs to be careful. Got stunned up by the gauntlet, but the acro bounce gets him a bit of distance. Can he get away from this one? Emmer King just barely having his back there. Leon able to escape. Gonna have to head back towards base in order to pick up an item safely. And heal up a little bit here. So really good pressure coming out for Justice, but unfortunately that time, Gauntlet not able to secure a kill.
I feel like that was a little bit overzealous with the use of Gauntlet at this point in time because, you know, Versik was very aggressive, but he was pretty isolated when he was looking for the pick. Had Ottoman close by, but you know, you're really relying on Yakub for the majority of your damage. There is the alternating current now on Ottoman, so he will be a damage threat in his own right. But, you know, when you're looking to really burst someone out, Yakub will be doing most of your work at this point in time. So Yakub was a little bit too far away to make anything happen off the back of that gauntlet. And with such a hyper mobile hero, forced the cord
lands onto Techno JJ, putting down the hurt on the Versik. That's going to be the wait for it, silencing up Yakub. Techno, he's got to be careful right now, though, out of energy on the backside, trying to get out of here. The fountain is going to keep him safe. Leon stunned up by the Verse of Judgment, still very high health, still has, of course, a lot of energy too. Yakub is doing good damage right now, though. Techno just barely able to get out of there, the fire burning him away. Stop, drop, and roll, like I like to say. He needs to really be careful in this position. Everyone extremely low on the side of Gangstar Cerberus, but no one going down. Man, that was close to a devastating fight for the side of Gangstar Cerberus.
Yeah, right now Gangstars don't seem to have the damage to deal with the healing that Adagio is putting out. Immense payout collected as well, so they're just further putting themselves in the lead. 4K almost being that stretch. In fact, it is 4K exactly at this point in time. So For Justice really coming out the stops with this composition and the way they're playing this game. I really think that Leon needs to finish an item, because right now it does feel like he's incredibly lackluster. Techno is going to be under a lot of pressure here from Yakub.
Yeah, there's a gauntlet available as well. He's not going to be able to get out of here. Techno JJ trying to defend a turret that he probably should not have been. Goes down whilst his teammates are just sitting in the jungle. It's going to be actually quite difficult for Emmer King to rotate safely back to the turret, so he recalls as Leon tries to go in 1 versus 3, maybe slow down this push a little bit, but he gets forced back by Ottomans. This is a very convincing performance from For Justice so far in the early game. Gangstar Cerberus, I agree with you. Where is the item? 2,500 gold on Leon. Are you saving for a tier 3? I mean, you just buy a tier 3 at this point, right?
Yeah, you can afford pretty much most tier 3s given what you've got. So, I mean, what are you particularly waiting for? Just buy an item. Buy an item, Leon. Unless you're trying to go for some sort of crazy 2-item random spike and then just blow people out the park.
He's trying to lure them into the false sense of security.
I mean, this is why they've not really been doing any damage in these team fights. I mean, because yes, Techno is starting to build up his own forms of damage, but Leon is almost dead weight at this point because he's sitting on an Eclipse Prism and a Crystal Bit, as well as a
He's got
Revolver.
Almost 3,000!
Yeah, I think now there'll be an item. Surely there will be an item.
There's the Aftershock.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What else did
Aftershock
he buy
picked
there?
up. So I like the Aftershock because it combines well. He didn't buy anything else then.
He did. He spent initially about 1,500, and then he spent another 700.
Upgrade to tier 2 boots? Yeah, okay, so he's upgraded to tier 2 boots. I like the Aftershock because it applies the on-hit effect with basically with every hit of 3-ring circus. So you can actually, if you manage to land 3-ring circus attacks, do some fairly decent damage with just the Aftershock. So this could be fairly influential coming up into one of these next smaller skirmishes or team fights.
I've got to agree with you, but I do think that this is maybe too little too late. I mean, 12, almost
Potentially.
13 minutes to complete
Yeah.
your first tier 3 item is kind of unheard of, to be honest.
I do think he could have had that sooner. I think he definitely could have had that item far sooner. He's like, I'm gonna go for the tier 2 boots, alternating, tier 2 boots, aftershocks, item spike. I can't wait. I'm just gonna save up for 6 minutes here. They're gonna be blown out the park. No, you're right. Too late. it's too late for your first tier 3 item.
Well, we'll have to see if they can make it happen. I certainly think that with
Crucible's
Crucible
there.
also being hit by Emmer King, it is still, even if it is late, a big power spike for Gangstar Cerberus, and they've had moments where they looked like they were close to winning fights. So they just need to pick a good one, and that's what it really all boils down to. Plus, I think Verse of Judgment has been undeniably one of the biggest, most influential things for the side of For Justice thus far.
Yes.
And the Crucible is obviously maybe more valuable than it initially appears when you take that into consideration. So, opportunities here for Gankstars. Also, Tyrant's Monocle, worth noting, picked up for Techno JJ. He's going to be doing some good damage. And for Justice, I feel like maybe they realize that the power spikes have been hit. They've slowed down their roll a little bit, not trying to keep the pressure on too much. Got a minute until Kraken. I imagine that's going to be the next really big point of contention.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think Techno JJ's hitting a nice spike here. He's picked up Tyrant's Monocle and got some attack speed in his back pocket. So, he'll start doing some real damage with the Sonic Zoom, and obviously, once he's overdrived it, which he has, he'll get that 20% weapon ratio for 2 seconds. So that'll be really good for him. So he'll start doing some serious damage at this point in time as well. I think it all depends on how effective this tier 3 item from Leon is actually going to be. How effective will this Aftershock be in these team fights? I think that's the biggest thing. And how effective will Crucible be? Are you going to use Crucible to be able to negotiate the gauntlet? Are you going to use Crucible literally to counteract the Verse of Judgment? Because there isn't actually a reflex block on either of your carries at this point in time. So you're relying on Crucible only.
Gangstars need to address this. This is going down pretty quick. Emmer King does have Force to Cord, but can he actually land it here? Ottomans is going to get stunned up by the Quibble. Good damage coming out of Techno JJ this time. The wait for it doing some work as well. Yakub likely to follow here unless he can stick onto Techno. That's going to be the reflex block. Yakub finds the kill though. Leon, he's still full health, but he doesn't have the same kind of consistent damage. He still manages to find the kill. Fursic likely to follow. Emmer King doing a great job of initiating that fight. Gangstars finally taking some kind of an advantage as Leon goes in to clean it up, picks up the ace, likely to go for Kraken sometime soon. I mean, they did admittedly just kind of turn it around from one fight. That was pretty big.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that I noticed during that team fight, which I thought were very odd. So, 2/3 of For Justice decided that they were going to go aggressive and seek the team fight, and then they just left Fursic by himself, attempting to solo the Kraken. It's like, leave your roamer on the Kraken. Like, I can do this, guys. 1/5 HP left. Let's do this. You kind of left him there. And then your 2 carries are being absolutely annihilated by Gangstar Cerberus, and you're just like, no, it's too late now. Arjun's just by himself. He's not going to carry this anymore.
This game has been kind of weird, I've got to be honest.
It's been a little bit weird.
Back and forth misplays, I would argue, from the two teams. Gankstars have now got this Aegis on Leon, so he's going to be able to stick onto the back line a little bit better. Fursic does flare out, but not actually onto Leon. The Bangarang, look at the mispositioning from Ottomans. He gets knocked into the team. Techno wants to get onto the back line. Verse of Judgment does not complete. Yakub, he's trying to hunt down Techno JJ. He might be able to find it, but the Fountain Proc goes across. Techno is able to escape. That's a clean ace for Gangstar Cerberus. 2 aces in a row. Where did this come from? I feel like Aftershock is not an item that does this much, right?
It's the Aftershock tier 2 boots combo. He was smarter than all of us. He waited until 12 minutes and suddenly, bam, Aftershock.
It was Aftershocking, I'll tell you.
Yeah, honestly, I do think it's basically allowed Leon to be a little bit more useful, but realistically, I think Techno is really doing huge amounts of damage at this point in time. Overdrive on his A, he's then also built up a serious amount of weapon power. He's got the Bone Saw as well. Yeah, that's definitely Bonesaw. Just a small item I couldn't potentially see, but yeah, definitely built up the Bonesaw as well. So he is starting to be a real threat, and I think he's doing a huge amount of damage during the period of these team fights.
Oh,
Speaking
Gauntlet
of
going to
team
be
fight,
going down here. Yakub trying to get on the back line, but look at the damage that he's taking. Tetno still hasn't suffered very much. Yakub, first of all, Tetno is able to kite backwards a little bit as the fountain comes across, and now Ottoman's likely to follow. Fursic goes down too. Two quick, very clean aces from Gangstar Cerberus. I was wondering when they were going to do it. Okay, Kraken has been started off. I feel like this probably could have been done a bit earlier. But, you know, now Gangstar's doubling the kills of their opponents for Justice. Need to find a little bit of that magic they had going for them earlier on in the game if they want to make it any further forward in this tournament.
I feel, again, like a power point has been hit now for Gangstar Cerberus. They've got the Vox with 3 weapon power items, with an overdrive on his A. He's really starting to hurt. Leon is looking, again, starting to look pretty good with just this Aftershock and a Aegis to back him up. And you look at the composition from, for Justice. You've got an aggressive build coming out from this Adagio. It's not healing as much as it would have done with something like a Shatterglass. And also Yakub is getting taken out very quickly.
Oh, turret's going to be started off here by Gangstar's. Tetno, admittedly, this time is taking a lot of damage because he wasn't focusing on the fight. He goes down. Burst of Judgment doing some nice work. Leon is unlikely to be able to make this fight work. Doesn't have the same level of carry potential that Tetno has, but he's going to try and finish up the Vein Crystal. Emmer King falls too. The Kraken's still pretty healthy. Can they take this one down fast enough? I think that they can, but even still, not a great position to be in for Justice. They need to do something off the back of this ace.
So that there displayed exactly what me and you were both talking about. They're saying, we don't think Aftershock is doing this much damage. Well, they're confirmed. It isn't doing that much damage. The main damage source is in the form of Techno JJ. And, you know, that was played very well because obviously they had to take an aggressive position. It meant that Techno JJ was isolated with very few options to mobilize. He couldn't mobilize backwards because there was a wall there, and he couldn't mobilize forwards because the enemy team was there. So he was stuck between literally a rock and a hard place. And was an easy picking there for Blackfeather. So that was the real key aspect of that team fight. And then, you know, you have Leon. Okay, great, he's got the Aftershock. He's now picked up. I think he's going more defensive in his itemization now. I think this really shines, this Aftershock, when he managed to get a 3-man, you know, he gets a 3-man AoE ability, and he gets the Aftershock proc on everybody, so that's where he starts to do a little bit more team-wide damage. But if Techno JJ is going down at this point, then that is, I think, the Gankstars Cerberus team fight locked up and sewn. So you need to make sure Techno JJ is receiving all of your peel. The issue was there because they took that aggressive position with Kraken. He was an easy pickings for Blackfeather. Make sure he's not easy pickings for Blackfeather, and you win the game.
I've got to agree with you, and Leon doing a decent job of catching people a few times in the fights. The Gangstar's of 1 Tetno, gonna get jumped on here though. Again, as Yakub tries to go to the back line, he's not getting as much peel as he might like right now, trying to get to the Emmer King on the side of the fight. Fursic, the only one near Tetno JJ right now, but Yakub jumps across the fight to pick it up. Leon, he needs to clean up this fight to try and get a decent win off here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. Everyone's so low. That's going to be the Quibble down onto 2. Emmer King might be able to find Ottomans as well. Polite Company not going to be enough though. Force the Cord brings Ottomans close. The Quibble takes him down, but Yakub is still alive. 40 seconds on several members of Gangstar Cerberus. For Justice, they are not out of this series.
Absolutely not, and it looks like Yakub is going very aggressive with the push there. He's got the ace buff, and you can see the Rose Assault, he's able to just dive onto Techno JJ. There isn't realistically the peel there for him. You have 2 abilities from Finn, which can provide a form of peel. You have Polite Company, obviously you have the Quibble. Forced Accord maybe can be used to drag people away from Techno JJ, but I think that For Justice have figured out what they have to do. It's like, oh, this Otter, why can't I remember the name of that hero?
Fox.
No. I'm not talking about Fox.
Adagio.
No, Otto. I think it's
Ozo.
Ozo. Yeah. I don't know why I thought it was Otto for about 5 minutes now. I was like, nope, okay, Ozo. They've realized that Ozo isn't realistically that much of a threat anymore. He's only got that singular aggressive item, and it isn't doing that much damage. So instead of actually worrying about this Ozo, they're just saying, okay, just send Blackfeather aggressively forward, deal with Techno JJ as much as you can, and will be fine, because once Techno JJ's down, Ozo isn't realistically providing enough of a damage threat, and then you just have Finn, who, yes, is pretty tanky, but isn't exactly going to kill us.
Oh, here we go again. Techno JJ is actually in a pretty good position this time, finds the silence on the 3 members. Verse of Judgment does so much damage, though. Leon, he's nearly going to go down. Techno jumps into the gauntlet. Leon needs to get out of here. Force the Cord facilitates the escape, but that fight went very far south very quickly from the Verse of Judgment coming out of Ottomans. Emmer King trying to stay alive for as long as possible, but he goes down. Excoundrel, I think that For Justice might be taking us to a Game 3. These last 2 fights have not been that close.
I think they're definitely potentially taking us to a Game 3 here. The issue is that the areas that Gangstar's Cerberus are choosing to fight in just make it very easy for Blackfeather to barrel in with the Rose Offensive and then look for as much damage onto Techno JJ as possible. You can see Techno JJ again boxed in. Gauntlet obviously to providing some ability to do that, but just the terrain in general, just making it very easy for Blackfeather to move onto Vox. You can see that Vox in the middle, the previous team fight, Vox overstepped and just allowed a very quick dash in from Yakub, and then allowed him to do the same thing. In that situation, he was boxed in by the Gauntlet, he didn't want to run out of it. It allowed Blackfeather the ability to just jump in and deal as much damage as possible, and you can see For Justice know what they have to do. I realistically want to see some more threat coming out from Leon. You can't ride the game with a singular aftershock and hope that you're going to be threatening enough to people to want to focus. It doesn't seem like he's doing anything right now.
And it's kind of hard for him to peel, too, because Bangarang can be used for it, technically, but not very effectively at the very least. And with Kraken pushing into the base now, 2 turrets left standing for Gankstars. They've certainly got an uphill battle ahead of them if they want to defend these turrets. You're going to have to see if they can pull something pretty impressive off here. Force the Cord, lands onto Yakub, but he just rose defenses out of there. Now Techno JJ putting himself in a bit of a bad position. He does block the gauntlet, gets back to the fountain, and heals up a little bit, but he walks back into it. What are you doing, Techno? Now Emmer King leading the charge here. They want to go for the fight. They know that they need to pick up these kills so they can deal with the Kraken, but it's hard for them to do that. On point, landing on Techno. The saving grace right now for Gangstarz is that they're fighting around their fountain, but I don't think it's going to be enough. For Justice, they're starting to roll through Gangstarz. The Vein Crystal, the last thing standing in the base for Gangstar's Cerberus, and wow, For Justice with a crazy Game 2 are able to come back and bring this game to a Game 3.
That was, in that last fight, by the way, Techno walked into Gauntlet 3 times. 3 separate times he walked into the Gauntlet and got stunned. He managed to shield the first one, obviously. He walked back into it, walked out, walked back into it, and then it dropped. And again, you've got to look at his positioning in that last team fight. He was asking to be engaged on by Blackfeather. He was just stood up there, front line, asking to be engaged on. And that is the issue with Vox's weapon power in the late game. He is a ranged carry. You know, he is, compared to someone like Ringo, he has got low range. That's why people build in Crystal Power, because he's bursty and he can jump around and burst people. As weapon power, you are looking to sustain damage, and he's got low range, he's easy pickings for Blackfeather. And I think they figured that out. Once For Justice realized that, hey, all we need to do is just barrel in on Techno, then we're fine.
I've got to agree with you. Well, Gangstar Cerberus looking a little bit more mortal after that second loss, or second game loss rather, to For Justice, but we still got a third game blind pick to go. Let's pass it back to our analyst desk so we can get that game